Hello everyone, welcome back to this tutorial. I do apologize for my voice. I have very sore throat for the last 4 days, but I had plans to make this video today and I would like to keep to this plan. Today's agenda is to actually make a video about UI, but more precisely about UI elements, some effects where we can actually create using collisions and colliders we learned last lesson. So I'm talking about collision we're making when we hit a platform, and we can make also score effect when the ball is actually falling through the through the hole. Okay, so let's get started. Before we started, we need to make some changes inside in the platform manager. So any effect, when we create effect as a sprite, that sprite will be, how do you explain it? That sprite will appear somewhere on the screen. But because we're creating this illusion that the ball is actually falling down, because we're creating some illusion that the ball is falling down, actually everything is going up. So the sprite of explosion or score sprite should move up with the platform. So we can do two ways. We can actually get the speed of all the platforms, and we can communicate some in the one way, which could possibly cause some problems in the future, because you want to be able to control that speed depending all your power-ups. Maybe the ball is falling through the hole and you speeding up temporarily. So placing explosion sprite or another sprite as effect on a screen should not move depending on your speed. It should be attached to the platform, and because platforms are our main objects, we're controlling with speed, and we will be addressing some power-ups in the future. So if we attach explosion to the platform and the platform goes up faster, explosion we just generated will be moving up at the same speed. So you don't have any, anomalies, etc. Except one rule. If we attach explosion or any effect on a platform when the ball is hitting, guess what's happened if we do this one on very, very top? If we do this on very, very top and the ball managed to get through the holes, that platform with the explosion will go up, and that explosion will be teleported in the bottom of the screen. And let's assume the ball is still falling down through the holes, because I was playing this game another day. I managed to fall through so many holes just by luck, and it was really good actually. So that explosion attached to the platform goes up, teleports with the platform in the bottom, and suddenly you see the new platform coming from the bottom of the screen with the still explosion visible. Also, I would like to mention that I'm planning to also today to show the script where we allow the sprite to be visible only for 2 seconds. I find 2 seconds is really safe and really, I would say, it's enough to you player to understand what you're showing, and it is not too much to show for any anomalies, so you will be seeing them again in the bottom of the screen. Also, we can add some safeguards if you want to see the explosions longer than that. So you can say we can check if explosion sprite will ever appear above the screen or bottom of the screen. You just destroy it. So you play in that safe. But what I choose to do is, when the ball hits the platform, the sprite of explosion appears in that location, but the sprite will be attached as a child game object to the lowest platform. Not to that platform which when it hits, to the lowest, because think this way, all our platforms moves at the same speed. So regardless which one you attached, the sprite will be moving up at the same speed. If we attach that one sprite to the lowest platform, we have the longest distance and the longest time until that platform will be teleported again in the bottom. That means that our sprite we can safely assume that after 2 seconds when it's disappeared, it will be seen again in the bottom of the screen. I hope so. That makes a lot of sense. But let's do one step at a time, and this should make sense when we do coding, and I'll try to explain even more in detail. So first one, as I mentioned, we need to find in the platform manager, we need to find the lowest one. So it will be public function instead of void, which one means the function will not return anything. This function actually will return something. Void means nothing to return. Any variable instead of void, we can say, if we say int, that means this function will return int. If we say float, that means this function will return float variable, etc., etc. I know maybe sometimes I'm jumping in very beginning level, but it's good sometimes to recap a few bits. I really not sure what crowd is watching this, and sometimes I'm afraid to go too high level. So this function will return game object, and we call it get lowest platform. Okay, this is a function, and it gets error because we're not returning anything. So let's create a game object, which one is a lowest platform, and create it as a null. In the end, we just return lowest platform. At the moment, if we run if we call this function, it always returns null. We just create an empty. Well, not even empty. It is a game object which one is literally null, is nothing. We allocated location in the memory, but nothing is there. Well, by nothing, it's again another question, theoretical question. Okay, to find the lowest platform, we will be comparing each platform and its location. If we find a platform which one is lowest than previous one, we'll remember that platform and we'll remember its location. Then we check a second one, and if the second one is lowest than the first one, we remember that one, and we remember that platform's location, and we'll loop that through every single we'll loop that one through every single every single list of platforms by looking at that one. But to do that one, we need a starting point. So starting point, when you're looking something low, yeah, this is a thumb up rule. If you're looking something low, you need a starting point, something very, very high. What I mean by very, very high. So you take think this way. If you take any platform, the platform height must be always lower than the starting point of number. You can't say zero. The low number is 0, because it is possibility that none of the platforms is lower than 0. Could be possibility. For the sake of example, we go for 1 million. It is very, very high number. But just for the sake of example, I want to explain you guys. That is the starting point. The float low is 1 million. I safely can assume that any platform I will check will be lower. So, yeah. For int I, as long I is less than a platform, platforms count. And now we're saying if platforms at I game object dot transform dot position dot y is lower than low. So is it lower than 1 million? Well, at least the first one, it will be definitely lower. So what are we saying? The lowest platform is equal to platforms at I game object. So we remember now we're saying, okay, the lowest platform is this platform because it is lower than 1 million, which one is obviously. Then we're saying, okay, the new low is this. The new low, instead of 1 million, is this platform we just remember, position.y. So when it loops the second member in the list, because it's a for loop, it will be comparing no more against 1 million. It will be comparing against the lowest platform. It could be possible the second will be lower, the third will be lower, the fourth will be lower, but the fifth one is not. The sixth is not, the seventh is not, eighth is again lower. So it will keep loop again lower, and it will end up remembering the lowest one from all the list. Okay, it's possibility that the first one will be the lowest one in the list, and the rest of them is higher. So yeah, and then we just return that. Here is what. That's it. We're done. Okay. Now, when we made this small change to our platform manager, I want to go back to our project, and we need to create a few things. I wanted to create a first script, which one will be called ball effects. So it will be attached to the ball. The script will be attached to the ball, and the ball as a game object will be capable to call some effects on the screen. Okay. Very strangely. Oh yeah. Okay. Was a strange shape of the screen. Another one, as I mentioned before, we need to create a sprite effect. We call it sprite effect. Yeah, sprite effect. So this will be attached to the sprites, and this will make sure that our sprite will be only visible for 2 seconds. So it will be very small sprite we need to attach to our sprites. Do we missing anything else? No, I think it's the main two things. We'll be working with the ball script, ball effect, and the sprite effect scripts today. Okay, let me import a few. Sprites and come back to you in a second. The sprites I'm talking today is for a score. I want to just showcase a +1, +2, and a +3 points when the player is receiving them. And of course, a small explosion I find on internet. Top advice is to use toppng.com website, which one is royal free. PNGs, if you want to use in your game, it's really simple. And if you have any antivirus ad blocker, that website, it looks very clean and nice. But I saw another day in a friend opens that page, and it was full of advertisements. So I was a bit surprised. I even said like you're in a really wrong page. But so we have this four different sprites. What we need to do is actually to drag one by one on the screen. So if we open the game screen, we can drag one of them, and then we need to press this locking, enable constrained proportions. That means if I change one value, 0.1, it will change all of them. If you unlock or disable, you can change one at a time, and we can make like something like this, a very stretch image, but we don't want to do that one. And we want to enable constraint. After that one, we need to do this sprite effect script, which we'll be editing later. And we just need to drag this game object from hierarchy. We just need to drag into prefabs folder, and that will make a prefab with all our own. You can see in hierarchy, it became blue. Okay, now we can delete from the screen. No need anymore. Let's get back to images. I'll drag number two, enable constraint size 0.1 and add sprite effect. Drag the game object into prefabs folder, and I have another prefab. It gets blue. Delete. We need to repeat again this the same for a +3 and a bit differently to, oh, sorry, wrong location. Okay, and +3, drag into prefabs. Is that correct? Sprites, size, okay, and then delete. With our, what's it called, images, and we have explosion. Okay, you can see toppng.com blue color powder explosion. What I want to change is just explosion. Give a proper name. Okay, and again we drag in, and this one will be a bit different. I think it is, yeah, it is 0. Oh, before we entering, we need to enable constraint proportions, and then we're doing a 0.05. And then we put, when we can, sprite effect, and then we can drag it in prefabs folder. Okay. And one more thing is, because we have sprites of walls and platforms, then we have explosions and numbers. Very cool thing how we can address this one. So if we look from a computer perspective, computer, etc., don't know what to draw on the top. Computer will drawing now ball on the top and explosion behind. Very interesting thing is that in the games, explosions actually appearing behind platform. On a computer was a vice versa. So instead of you trying to guess what it rendered first and what's it rendering behind, you have two options. First is to negative your, what's it called, push your Z in negative. So you push towards camera, and that's you will make sure you're rendering in the front of the ball, etc. in this example. Or more simpler, which one is 2D more friendly, if we look this way, you have order in layer. So the higher order will be rendered on the top. So if explosion I put on 1, even though it's in the same location, I just explained it to the computer that explosion must be on the top of anyone in order 0. So you can play this one. Ball, vice versa, ball could be layer 2, and the ball will be always on top, etc. So that is meaning of that explosion. Sorry, order in layer. The same thing we need to repeat to all sprites we just done. Explosion, holding control, we can select +1, +2, and +3, and we need to change all of them to be order in layer 1. Okay, double check. Okay, so we have all that stuff. We just attached a script to all the sprites called sprite effect. And that is, let me open an example. That is very simple script actually. So what we will be doing, we'll need a sprite, sprite render. We can just call it sprite. I like that one. Okay, sprite render is the sprite. We need to say that sprite is equal get component sprite renderer, because this script will be attached to game object of a sprite. And that game object of sprite, if we go back to prefabs, that game object, etc. +1, has a sprite renderer, a component. So what we're saying in the script, sprite renderer get a component from the same game object. And we will do very simple. Sprite dot color is equal to new color. Yeah, we don't want it to change a color itself, so we'll leave it 1F. What we want to do is actually adjust its transparency. And to do that one, we need to know what is current transparency. So sprite.color.a, and we need to subtract 0.5. This makes 2 seconds, because if one is 100% and I'm subtracting a half, it should take 2 seconds to reach 100%. The problem is, if we leave a script like this, it will reach in 2 frames, not in 2 seconds. If you remember from the last lesson, when we're subtracting or moving anything, we need to always add time.delta time. So we telling computer, yes, you subtract a half per second. Okay. And lastly, we need to check if dot color dot a is less or equal to 0, so the transparency reached a 0, we need to take some actions. First, we need very simple. We just need to destroy this. We just need to destroy this game object. Yeah. Okay. And that's it. So we will be making some sprites on the screen. We get sprite as a game object, then it will appear on the screen. Then every frame will be subtracting a fraction to make sure we subtract a half visibility per second. So 2 seconds make 0. And when it reaches 0, we destroy it. Yes, we can make a more advanced way where we have a pool of them. And instead of creating and destroying, which one is a bit heavy on computation, we actually make a pool of them and we keep pulling them out of there. But because of how this game is simple, and how this game is simple, it's really necessary to do that. So we can just destroy and spawn new ones in a game. Okay. Okay. Did I save that one? I hope so. I saved. Yeah, it's saved. Okay. So we just done that. Next script we created today is actually ball effect. And the ball effect will be having 2 effects, if I'm not mistaken. 1 second. Yeah. First of all, ball effect needs to know all that prefabs we want to spawn. So we need to create a public game object, and we need explosion. We need a +1, +2, and a +3. 3. So we will explain to the script all the prefabs where to get from. Okay, so we don't do nothing in the start or update. We can actually collapse them and make it a bit tighter if we need it, but we'll be doing other stuff. So one of the first ones is the public void, because it doesn't return anything, and we just say create explosion. To create explosion, we'll need some variables. First of all, we need a vector2 vector 2 position. So we need to know where in the screen we'll be creating this this explosion. And also we need to know a transform, a parent. So as I mentioned before, is double R, no, parent like this. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we will be attaching this explosion to the platform. So we need to know the parent. If we know a parent, this explosion we're creating could become a child of that platform and move up to a screen with everything else. Okay, so new game object, explosion, initiate explosion. Yeah, and we're just missing one more thing as a game object, and unsigned. It's a game public. Okay. You can't use the same game object explosion a few times. So let's rename this one new explosion. New explosion, initiate game object explosion. And then we can put comma and say parent. We can do here, but we will be making some troubles. So instead of that, before adding to the parent, we want to first move into a location, make some rotations, and then attach to the platform. So let's do one thing at a time. So first, new explosion. We want to transform, and then we want position equal pos. That's really simple like this. Then we want a new explosion, transform rotation, and not identity, but we want to say euro. I hope so spelled correct. Euro, something like this. And we want to create new vector 3. I'll explain in a second what exactly I'm doing here. So we want to say 0, 0, and when we say random dot range between 0 and 360f. Okay. Well, no need f. It could be integers on it. Makes more. Okay. So what I just done, I moved in the screen where position. So when we create explosion, we'll be passing location on the screen. So we're moving that explosion in that location. Then I'm randomly rotating, not around X, not around Y, but around Z axis. If you want to see visual representation how it looks. So this is explosion. And if I take rotation on Z, it rotates like this. So our explosion each time will be randomly rotated different corner and doesn't look always so same. Even though this shape is really, really circular and very small, maybe doesn't make any difference, but it could make difference to your game, depending exactly what you're doing, etc., etc. So I like to rotate it randomly around between 0 and 360 degree. Okay, so we just moved in a new position. We just rotated random angle. Now we need to attach to a parent. New explosion transform dot parent equal parent. So now this is attached to the platform and moving towards top of a screen with all the platforms. Okay, similar we need to do for a, what's it called, score. Create score. Yep, create a score. And this will be a bit different because we have 3 different prefabs, and we need to know integer. We need to know what's it called, score. We need to know which score prefab we need to spawn, because if it's 2 points, we will spawn this prefab. If it's 1 point, this prefab, and if it's score 3, we need to spawn that prefab. Then We need to know, again, same, we need to know where. This time I'm using vector 3, and it is on the purpose. I wanted to showcase how I wanted to start you guys to give a bit understandable that how the vector 3 can easily to be transformed in a vector 3 by Unity engine. It takes X and Y and always puts Z as a 0. And that's really key also, because if you're using order in layer, as I showed previously, you're changing this prefab's order instead of moving Z, you can using vector 2 without any hesitation, because you controlling Z and order in layer, what is need to draw first and second by this number. Okay. So yeah, let's get back here. So create a score. We need to know the score. We need to know position. And of course, like last time, we need to know the transform parent. Okay. I don't know, did I use this one before? Oh yeah. We need to, how I want to approach this one. I don't know. Did I show before a switch? Switch. What's it called? Not condition, but we could call it condition. Switch approach instead of if and else. So let's do this one with the switch. I don't know how to call it, switch condition. So we need to create a game object, which will be a score prefab, and we need to say it's a null, like a previous one of sprite effect. So we create a game object. I'm still thinking while I'm coding how I want to do it. Yeah, let's do it with a switch. So switch. Switch is more advanced and more easable to read if and else conditions. Depending of how many score we have, we can really easy switch between case 1, break. You will see the pattern in a minute. Case 2, break. Case, not -1. Bad Visual Studio that can get it. Okay, break. So, and we need to add more bits spaces. Okay, so when we pass the score in this function, when we call switch condition, depending the value of a score, it will jump into the matching number. If a score is 2, it will skip this code block, skips here if score 2. Oh, sorry. Execute here if score is 2. Never reaches here if score is 2. That means depending the score value, if let's say it's 2, it will skip this one, goes here, and you see we put a break. That means after it's executed here, it will exit and continues here to do next. Yeah, and goes here. If I delete break, it should not give me an error. It used to not give an error, at least in C++. It means it will skips the case 1, executes number 2, then start executing number 3 and number 4. If we delete this one break, it's execute number 4 and so on and so on until it hits break or hits the last thing. Sometimes you have a case where you don't have any break, but the score is only skipping a partial and you're doing other ones. In our case, we want to only execute a particular scenario depending the score value. So after each case, we have a break. Case, break, case, break. The default we can also do here if no matching case is found. So let's say the score is -1 or score is 100. We have case 1, 2, 3, but we don't have -1 or 100. So you will be doing here. In our scenario, we just do nothing. We just ignore it. So default break, nothing. If it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3, don't do nothing. You just go here, it's straight away break, nothing. Okay. So what do we want to do? Very simple. Score prefab we created outside of this switch condition is null. We want to say the score prefab is actually equal to initiate a game object of +1. Yeah, prefab. Okay, and we can copy this one and just put here and put here, and instead of 1 we want a +2 and +3. So our game object now, depending the score, becomes one of these prefabs. Then we do after we finish switch condition, we need to check if score prefab is not equal null. We do something with that. And why I mean it's not equal null? Well, as I mentioned before, the score could be -1 or something outside of case 1, 2, or 3, and you don't want it to crash your game. So if that is the case, and for some reason you push number 4 or anything else, you go default to break, and your game object is still null. So what you want to do is, if it's not equal null, so it's +1, +2, or +3, we want to do the same thing as we done it on the top. We want to say score prefab dot transform dot position is equal to pos, and score will be not randomly rotated, because how to explain it? It is text. If you put it upside down or angle, the player will be finding a hard time to read it, unless your game wants to make it some drunk numbers there. So yeah, in our case we just say the score prefab dot transform dot parent is equal to parent. Okay, this is how we finish ball effect. To finalize it, we go back to the ball and we need to add the ball effect script, and you can see the ball effect asking for all the sprites, prefabs, not sprites. So we drag explosion, we drag a +1, we drag +2, and we drag +3 from our from our asset folder. Asset prefabs folder, not from hierarchy. Hierarchy should be empty now. Okay, if you leave a prefab in a hierarchy, it will disappear in 2 seconds and it will be deleted. So your script will lose any any reference to it. So that's why you need to drag the prefabs from your folder and reuse it as many times as you want. Okay. Now, only the last thing today to see all things what we're doing is actually to adjust a ball script. Yep. So inside in the ball script, inside in a ball script, so one of the things we need to get a reference to our ball effects, and we call just ball effects. Okay, and because they both attach to the same game object, we just can say ball effect get component ball effect. So it's the same as this game object get ball effects. I think I already covered this one. We don't need to say this one because Unity assuming you're talking about this game object. And like I said before, if we look at a ball, both scripts, ball and ball effects, is attached to the same game object. So when we save a ball gets a ball effect, it's assuming from the same game object. So easy peasy. Okay, and now we need to address one at a time. So as you know, we have a score here. Okay, I think we need to leave a score for now. It's more complicated one, and we can just do with a platform. So when we hit a platform, we do hit blah blah blah, and then we say okay, ball effects dot create explosion. And now we need a vector to position and transform parent. And by the Unity documentation of 2022 version we're using today, the first collision point is when we have collision enter 2D, you always have at least 1 point in a list. I really don't have experience why we need to use more than 1 point. Like if you're colliding two objects and they touching in many places, I'm assuming if a ball is flexy and when it falls down, it flats itself, and then you have many different collision points possible. Or maybe if the two squares perfectly touch each other, also you have a lot of collision points. But in a ball and an hour of this world, when we have collision collider, when the ball is entering another collider, we're taking the first point, which one is always the center of a ball. No, I didn't explain that correctly. It is at this point, middle of circumstance. This is a point will be 0. If when it hits and flats out, let's say it's a rubber ball. If we put a lot of physics, it flats out when you have many different points. But simple way talking, in my all experience, I have never used that. I really don't know where in a game we should to use that one, because it could be some simulation maybe of some frictions and other complicated simulation. In our case, in most of the games, you just used a collision dot get contact, and we need to get contact 0, because you can get first, second, third, whatever number you have collisions having between two this objects. So because this function on collision enter is executed, the Unity documentation says that you safely can assume at least one collision get contact is in the list. So that's why we're taking the member number 0, which one is the first. And we're saying point. And the point is actually 2D, vector 2D. Now it becomes a bit more, not necessarily complicated, but it will be, what's it called? We need to go, do we have game manager? Yes, we have. We have a game manager? So game manager dot platform manager is not public. Let's get fix that one. So game manager, and we have platform manager, which one is not public. So that's why I cannot access outside it. Save. Let's go back to the ball. So game manager dot platform manager dot get lowest platform, which one we done script at the very beginning of this video, and we need a platform. So transform. Yeah. This function get the lowest platform returns game object, and I need a transform from that game object. So just dot transform. Done. Actually, let's test it out. let's have a make very quick test it. So it should generate some explosion sprites on the screen every time we touch something. Yeah. Yeah. And let's hit more. Yeah. You can even do like if you take your velocity, because the ball is asking, the ball script is calling this effect. If you take the ball's velocity, you can actually generate a different what's it called, a different sprites, etc. How to explain it? You can maybe generate bigger if you're dropping from very high, and a smaller if it's you barely hit the platform, etc. Or even different color, like red and big and blue, small, or maybe depending the map, you can even also generate different ones. Okay, it's becoming really quick, very fast, purely because of testing. If I remember, I need to check the numbers. So we've done one bit. Let's go back to the score. Very simple as a previous one. We need to say so effect, if it's score. Okay. I'm thinking how we need to do, because I need to score actually to. Okay, so we need to change add score inside in platform. What's it called? Platform function. So what I want to do is actually this function, I would like to return integer. So yes, we adding score, but we, how to say, because the platform knows which score to add. And how the platform knows, because every time we hit the platform, it does the counter, we hits. And depending how many hits the platform have, we're adding different score. So when we call, the ball says, hey, platform, please add a score because I just passed you. Platform says, yeah, okay, no worries. I go game manager and I add the score. But a ball wants to know how much you added. So that's why we need to, what's it called? Add a score. If it's already scored, we want to return -1. And by our switch case, we will not spawn anything. Remember, we done this switch. If a score will be -1, it will go default, break, and nothing done. Back to the platform. If it's score, game add score, this one, we want to return 3. Let's copy. If we're adding 2, we want to return 2. And else we just wanted to return a 1. Okay. And oh, scored is never done. It's okay. To do that, we actually need to cut this one and to do like this. Let me think if I missed anything. Okay, I'm making some notes for next the next lesson. Sorry for a pause. Okay, so let's get back. So game manager, yeah. So platform adds the score, tells the game manager to add the score, and then platform goes back and returns the score to the ball. So now the ball knows how much it's adding. So let's delete the script. So this will be a very long one actually. So effect, ball effects dot create score, and the create score asking for how much score we want to do. Well, actually, we're just asking platform to add the score, And the platform, when we're asking platform to add a score, it actually returns answer how much score it just added. So yeah, that's one. Now it's asking for a position. Let's move to the, what's it called? Let's move this to the next line, so it will be more readable. So it's asking us for a position, and this is really simple. Because we're entering in on the visible box, the ball going through that collider between platforms, like empty box inside in the gap, if you remember from previous lessons. So we don't need to find the collision point. We need to know where the ball is at the time when it goes in that gap. So very simple. It is game object. And game object dot transform dot platform position. And game object transform dot position is of a game object which has the script attached, and this script attached is to our ball. So game object is our ball transform position. Okay, so we know position now. Happy days. What else? Next one is we need a parent. Same as last time. Not this one. Game manager dot platform manager dot get lowest platform dot transform, and that's it. As you can see, instead of making this in one very long line, as function should be, yeah, and even do this one, yeah. As you can see, a ball effect, crit score, and this is very long, parameters, because we need very long add score. We need, position and the transform. If you're looking at create score inside of the ball effects, create score, it's just integer, position, and transform. It's very not that many parameters we're asking. The long line is becoming because how we're getting them. And one of the rules I'm following to make it this kind of long functions more readable, after every comma in C#, you can just press enter and transfer to another line. And after comma, you press enter, transfer to another line. And this how you just made your function readable per 4 lines in this example. But now I can see everything. Okay, create a function. Okay, this is 1, this is a second, this is a third, and this is all. And here is the finish of our function call. And I think we are done for this one. So let's do some testing. Let's do some testing. And I hope so this will be visible enough. I'll zoom in a bit. Okay, 1 score, yeah. 2, 3, 2, 2. Oh, some reason we're getting 2 when we hit platforms. It apparently doing something with, okay, that works also fine. It's apparently the prefab of our platform. Let's have a check. Let's do analysis. So our platform prefab, yeah, which one is in scene? Platform right, platform left, and the platform. Okay, a score is very huge box actually. Can we, another way to do it, let's play the game and let's pause it. Let's pause, and we have platforms, and let's select one of them, the first one. Let's turn on, what's it called? No. What's it called? Transform tool? No. I'm missing something. Select this one. If I select score. Okay, found it. So our actually transform box is correct. It is a half line below. Let's continue our playing game. Oh, sorry, I paused. It could be a possibility that after a certain time. So yeah, this is good. This is good. This is good. This is still good. This is good. This is still good. Oh, this is not good anymore. Let's pause. This line where we have a ball now, it's not good. And white is actually score box is in the correct place. Okay. Let me think. So if it's scored about, we're adding score. Every time we're adding score, we, okay. Oh yeah, one more thing we can track also is console. Let's add a console somewhere here. And yeah, when we do some scoring, let's double check. So yeah, okay, that's bad. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's bad. Okay, that's good. That's good. It's not every platform, and it looks something to do with, yeah, see, it gets scored when it hits very fast a platform. If it doesn't hit slow, if it doesn't hit fast, it's okay. But if it's fast, it's, I think it's, the ball gets through. Yeah, okay. Simple fix for now. We need to lower our trigger box even more. What I mean by that, under the platform, let's have a see. Manager and inspector. Platform manager. And we have a function somewhere in a start, get screen location, generate walls, generate platforms. Go here. So in generate platforms, we're saying and number platform, create a new platform. Let's go here. Inside the create new platform, we say gap size, okay, game object, platform initiate, okay, position, okay, platform, okay, set up a trigger. So yeah, set up a trigger. Let's have a look here. So transform local scale is the same as screen width. Okay. And the local position, that's the one. We actually moving a half. What I want to do is you delete this half and we actually moving a full. If I draw very quick, if you remember, we create a platform, you create another platform, then we create a trigger box. Which one is green? And the trigger box was the same width, is the same width as a platform. And what we done, we moved by half, like this. At the moment, because we not really perfected our physics engine, the ball sometimes hitting the platform actually accidentally touching and triggers this point. What we want to do is to move not by half, but by full length. So our trigger box become below our platform. And to do that is really simple. Instead of saying we're moving by, left transform local size, sorry, local scale, what we do is we don't divide by 2. We move by full length. Okay. And that should fix this problem temporarily. Well, it's not a big problem. It's just a bit OCD maybe. We would like to be halfway, and we definitely need to address engine. So now we get very fast, and it should, as you see, it's no more. Yeah, it's no more accidentally triggering a box. It's only scores now visible on a time when we actually moving fast through the hall. Yeah, you can make a sound effect at the same time, so that's why I call ball effect. So we can trigger a sound effect, you can do other things, etc., etc. In relation of other UI components, etc., menus, points on the top, the buttons, exit, etc., etc., I find myself a bit behind of the newest toolkit of Unity UI toolbox. So I'm dedicating myself now to go and watch the newest tutorial, which allows me to, to give you a best and most updated version of how to do a UI. You see, we still, well, you see the game, we need to address the game engine, game physics, because sometimes it's not only we are accidentally getting points, but if we're really, really fast, it's possible even to go through the what's it called? Through the platform. Oh, no, it's a game over. Okay, nice. Is it it works? Yeah, works. Nice. Yeah, let's reset the game. Okay, guys. Thanks, everyone, staying again with me tonight. I'll be I hope so. I'll be uploading this video tonight after making all the renders, and I'll see you soon again, very soon. See ya.
And I'll go